everybody and welcome back to my art channel. So today I'm going to be drawing on some of these little plaque thingies. These are actually little MDF like shaped plaques, and I'm going to be drawing on them with these colored pencils. You see, I did this quite a while ago actually. I did it maybe a few years ago, and I drew a dragon on a square one of these, and these are actually really fun to draw on, and I had a lot of fun last time I did it, so I wanted to revisit it and see how I do. So let's dive into it and make an artwork. So the first step I actually took was to sand the surface of the wooden plaque, because last time I did this, which was quite a while ago actually, I didn't sand it and I felt like it needed a little bit more tooth on the surface of the wood where I was drawing. I felt like a little bit more tooth would help the pencils sort of adhere to the surface, if that makes sense. So I just took a little bit of rough grit sandpaper and I lightly sand the surface in different directions so that I had a nice sort of rough surface. Now I tried to do it in multiple directions because I just wanted it to be sort of uniform. I didn't want too many streaks in like the same direction, if that makes sense. I wanted it a nice even sort of sanding. Now I took out my mechanical pencil and I started to do a sketch on the surface, and this was a very sort of light sketch. I didn't want to put in too many details or anything like that. I just wanted a rough outline for what I was going to be coloring in. So I decided I wanted to draw an animal for this piece, mainly because I love drawing animals and I felt like I wanted to try and do a bit of a portrait of an animal. It's just what I was in the mood to draw at the time, and also I love animals, so it's good fun to draw them. So I did a light sketch of a deer, and then after this I went in with my eraser and also my kneadable eraser and I lightened up the sketch and cleaned it up pretty well just so that it was barely visible, because I'm going over the top with my colored pencils and I actually don't want any of that lead pencil to show through. So I started with some browns and I first went into the antlers because that's just the area that I picked to begin with, and I did a few layers of sort of dark browns, and I just went over the whole illustration trying to capture all of the shadows, because I was using a reference image for this and I was trying to stick to the reference image as well as I could. So I used a mix of browns and blacks and I just went through in all of the areas that had shadows, and I tried to pay attention to the shapes of the shadows and also the sort of patterns on the deer, because it has some parts where the fur is actually darker. And yeah, overall I just did that on each section and I tried my best to sort of get the pencil to look nice and even and, I don't know, smooth, if that makes sense. So for some colors I actually didn't have the right colors. I didn't have a grey on me because, well, to be fair, a lot of my pencils are sort of wearing really small, and I kind of need to get myself some new pencils soon because a lot of these are running out. But I didn't have a grey, but that wasn't overly a problem because I actually did a few layers of black and white, and then I mixed the sort of pencil and I sort of tried to blend it all together to get like a nice grey colour. That actually works pretty well too, because it gives that sort of streaky look as if it was like fur. So for the highlights of this piece, I wanted to go in and not just use browns, because I like adding different colors here and there in my illustration, and I felt like I wanted some really warm highlights in this piece, as if the sort of sun is shining off this deer's fur. So I actually decided to go in with a little bit of white here and there, but also orange as the main highlight source, and a little bit of yellow as well. And I just blended those into the brown, and yeah, it actually turned out really nice, because once you add highlights onto a piece that's on like a sort of a mid-tony background, once you add in those highlights, it really starts to stand out really nicely, and the tonal range really helps. I feel like once you add white and yellow and sort of brighter colors that are brighter than the background, it really helps to make the object look 3D, and it, like, I don't know, it just gives it a lot more contrast that I really enjoy. So now that I got all of the details on the deer, how I like it, it looks pretty cute. The highlights are nice and bright and the colors are really vibrant and the deer looks pretty cute. I wanted to go in with a background and I decided a sort of simple background because I really didn't want to sort of draw attention away from all of the details on the deer, and I actually decided to do a sort of foresty background, but really simplified. So what I did was I went in with a sort of light cyany kind of blue, and this was going to sort of symbolize the sky or like the deep background area. And I just did some stripes in the background as if it was the sections in between trees. And I just went in and I did a bunch of layers on that to make it nice and bright, and I burnished it really well too, which is where you push hard with the colored pencil just to get as much lead on that surface as you can so that it looks really nice and smooth. And this blue really helped to brighten the whole piece up as well, because most of the color choices in this were browns and oranges and yellows, some really nice warm colors, but once you add a bit of a cool color touch into it, it really makes it look more colorful and it complements well. I feel like with the cool tones in the background, it really helps to sort of emphasize the warm tones on the foreground. Now that I got all of that blue done, I went in where the trees were going to be and I put in some greens. Now the reason why I chose green instead of brown was because I wanted this deer to stand out, and I didn't want it to get lost in all of the browns of like tree trunks. So I decided greens would help and sort of separate the background from the foreground. Also, it gives it a little bit more of a naturey feel, and it also helps because the background is all mostly cool tones and the foreground's all mostly warm tones like I mentioned before. But yeah, I just picked a few different greens, a few lighter ones and a few darker ones. I tried to keep the darker ones on the edges and the lighter ones towards the middle, just to draw your eye into the middle of the picture where the deer's face is. And at the end I wanted to have a bit of a sort of color around the outside on the edges of this plaque, and I first tried to go with a gold Sharpie, but that did not look good at all. It didn't look gold, it looked like a weird greeny brown color, and it wasn't even sparkly, so I decided to go over the top with a black Posca pen, which gave it a nice sort of dark border and really helped the colors in the middle to sort of stand out. So here's the final result, and I love this. I think it looks really cute, the colors look really nice, and it's a really cute drawing. And to be honest, it's been quite a while since I've drawn with colored pencils on wood, and I think I did pretty well. So here it is, and to be completely honest, I love it. I think it's pretty cute. It's a bit of simple artwork, but I like the whole portrait style of it, and the colors turned out pretty good too. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please smash like and subscribe to get your scribble fix in the future. Also, in the time being, check out my other videos. I have a lot of art videos on my channel. I do Copic marker stuff, I do watercolor, acrylic paint, art supply hauls, lots of different stuff to keep you guys entertained during quarantine. And yeah, so check that out and I'll see you in my next video. Bye everyone.